President begins to make his way to the podium. We're pleased to present the 23-24 budget. Before Mr. Whitefield begins, I do want to commend him on his leadership and his staff on their hard work. As you guys know, a lot goes into putting together the budget. We actually, he and I started having preliminary discussions in January. And
They had to adopt a $2.2 million deficit.
For the board to consider in the coming month, I guess, before we have to adopt our tax rate and budget. But more importantly, it does include a 3% cost of living raise for our staff. But again, we'll get into this budget. I'll turn it over to Mr. Whitefield, and then I'll take it back over when we start talking about variables and options for trustees to consider over the next month.
Thank you, sir. Board, we will be going through two PowerPoints tonight, or this afternoon. The first one is going to be kind of the development process and the responsibilities. And we only go over this particular PowerPoint about every other year, but this is the year for it. So we're just going to try to hit the high points in here. I'll try not to read every slide to you, but this is going to be the shorter one. And then the next one that we go through, I'll have all the numbers in it that we have in the budget, okay? So on the first PowerPoint, and you did have that in section 1 of your book up there, it talks about the responsibilities. And CE Legal says a superintendent shall prepare or cause to be prepared a proposed budget covering all estimated revenues and proposed expenditures for the district for the following fiscal year. And that does address Texas Education Code 44002. Then you go into CE Local, and the main thing here is that so budget planning shall be an integral part of overall program planning so that the budget effectively reflects the district's programs and activities and provides the resources and to implement them. The budgets that we'll be talking about today are going to be your general operating budget, it's going to be your child nutrition budget, and your debt service budget. The FASRAG, or the Financial Accountability Resource Guide, we call it FASRAG in business office, says that these are the three budgets that you're responsible for, and you do adopt those at the function level. And we'll talk about the functions and the objects and everything just a little bit briefly here in just a second. Also, according to the Financial Accountability Resource Guide, the board's responsibility is to review, prioritize, revise the proposed budget submitted by the superintendent and staff in the workshop and working sessions, which this is one today, and then the next one will be in August when we adopt the tax rate and the budget. They're responsible for calling a public meeting in which to adopt the budget, and they must publish the notice of such meeting, just like all board meetings. The board shall also adopt a budget to cover all expenditures for the succeeding fiscal year and before the adoption of the tax rate. So we adopt the budget first, and then we adopt the tax rate to meet that budget. And then the board may amend the budget or adopt a supplementary emergency budget through the course of the year. So the budget process this year started in February of 2023, and that's when the budget parameters were set by Dr. Glenn and myself, and we presented those to you at the February 20th meeting, and that's going to come up here in a minute, I believe. They set teacher ratios and established an allocated.
The allocations were established for campuses and departments. Campuses were based on per pupil, and then the department allocation.
The year allocation that we use for those. There it is. The assumptions were presented to you at the February 20th, 23 meeting. All the allocations were consistent with prior year and with some mandatory increases for special programs and special POPs. Staffing of vacated positions are reviewed by the superintendent and the executive committee. It's typically expected to increase or stay steady, and with this budget that's presented, it will go down a little bit, but we're projecting a larger student growth next year. So it will go down just a bit because student enrollment is expected to grow. March 1st, budget packets were sent out to principals and directors. Like I said, the campuses were based on per pupil allocation, and the central office and department budgets were developed based on allocations and fixed costs. During the month of February and March, principals and directors were to meet with their staff and their campus leadership teams to develop their budgets, and those budgets were to be entered into Skyward and submitted to the business office by April 17th, 2023. The next slide, this is just a little history back to 2013, 2014 that shows the staff increases and raises that were given. It's just a little blurb. It's always in here. But you can see it's consistently gone up every year of what the raises will be. And I'm not going to sit here and read through all those for you. I do have a sheet if y'all need that later. It has everything on there for that. Revenue projections were reviewed with the preliminary tax values that were presented by the HCAD and all the different central appraiser districts for April of 2023. We do calculate a 90% collection rate, and then we are basing this budget that we're going to go over tonight on about a 4.5% student ADA growth. And we'll show that, and the first of that slide showing a minute, you'll see how the ADA and the fall enrollment and ending enrollment, how they gradually grow over the years, and you'll see that when we get to that point. And then we did have to take into consideration that we are Chapter 49, and that is wealth equalization, or the term would be Robin Hood. So when we get to our revenues, we talk about what our local revenue is